Hey guys, welcome to Jack's Beautiful You. In today's video, I am super excited because I've been testing out some really amazing fragrances that I've been super curious about for quite some time. And these have been pretty hyped up at one time. Some of them are being pretty hyped up right now. Some of them have just been hyped up over the course of time, and they have definitely piqued my curiosity. I'm just excited to share my opinions with you on these fragrances. These are just my opinions. I just want to share with you whether or not I feel like these fragrances are full bottle worthy for me if I plan on purchasing them and bringing them into my collection. If you're new here, hi, welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on my thumbnail today. My name is Jackie, and I really appreciate you being here. If you like this video and you find it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and without further ado, let's get into this video. Alright, so a fragrance that I did not think I would be interested in at all because I'm not a fan of fresh and clean kind of fragrances. I don't really like clean linen type of fragrances, and this is what I thought this one would be. But this is the new fragrance by Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and this is 724. So I did get a sample of this, and the reason why I got a sample of it is because I was in a boutique and they had it out on display, and I decided to spray it on a tester strip, and I was actually kind of surprised at how much I liked it. But I knew that just, spraying it on a tester strip in the store is not enough to determine whether or not I like something. I wanted to really get a good feel for it. So I went ahead and ordered a sample, and I will say for a clean fragrance, I really like this one a lot more than I thought I was going to. So I'm just going to give it a spray here to refresh my memory. I actually did do a full day wear test on this. It's actually really beautiful. I know there was some polarizing views on this fragrance. Some people were not into it and some people were. I think it's just because this is a scent profile that just isn't for everybody. But for a clean scent, like a fresh kind of linen scent, this is pretty nice. Now, I still don't think that this is my scent profile, and because of that, I probably won't be purchasing a bottle, but I like it a lot more than I thought. So this year, I really want to be mindful about the fragrances that I bring into my collection. I want to try more fragrances. I want to do less blind buying, and I want to be a little bit more picky about what I bring in. I only want to bring in loves to my collection. If I really like a fragrance, but I don't love it, I'm not going to buy it, but I still want to experience it, So lots of samples and decants for me for sure. So 724 has aldehydes and also bergamot in the opening. And I got to say, I really pick up this bright citrusy bergamot. Like, that's the first thing that I smell. Now, I'm kind of surprised because when I think of aldehydes, I think of more of like a vintagey, old school kind of fragrance, but I'm really not picking that up from this. I'm just getting this incredibly citrusy, bright opening, which kind of makes me feel energized. This is a very uplifting and energizing fragrance. There's mock orange, there's Egyptian jasmine, and there's sweet pea in here. So you've got some florals, and then in the base you have white musk and sandalwood. I definitely pick up a lot of that white musk. It's a very clean, musky scent in my opinion. I wouldn't say this straight up smells like clean linen, but it definitely gives me that kind of clean feeling vibe. If that's your scent profile, if you're into the clean girl aesthetic, if you like citrusy, bright, happy fragrances, I think you'd like this. I think this is a really good fragrance, and I enjoyed it quite a bit more than I expected. But for me, this is just a like, and it's just because it's not my scent profile, like I said, not because I think it's a bad fragrance. So I won't be purchasing this, but do I think this is a good fragrance? Yes, I do, for sure. All right, up next we have a fragrance that I was super curious about. I hear everyone talking about this fragrance. This is by Initio Parfums, and this is Musk Therapy. Everyone raves about this fragrance, everyone. And I was so curious about this because I kept thinking to myself, it's just a musk, it's just a plain musk. Like, how good can it be? Can it really be worth it? And I was pleasantly surprised with this fragrance. I wore this all day as well, and I really, really enjoyed this. Now, when I first spray it, I just kind of think, oh, it's a musky fragrance. It smells really pleasant, it's really nice, but there's nothing special and absolutely nothing to justify the price point That was my first thought when I sprayed it. But as I wear this, it's on my skin and it develops, there's something to this fragrance, I have to say. I really do get the hype behind this. This is a special musk fragrance. This isn't just your typical musk, you know? It's kind of hard to explain, actually. I'm not really sure how to capture it in words, how truly like special I think this is. I think if you like musky fragrances, I honestly think you need to get your nose on this. This is one of the best musk centered fragrances I think I've ever smelled. It's quite beautiful, and smelling it on paper just does not do it justice. The way it develops on the skin, it's absolutely beautiful. So you have white musk and musk. There's also black currant and bergamot in here. I can't say I pick up a lot of black currant, but I definitely get like the bergamot, there's mandarin orange, there is some floral notes in here, and then there's sandalwood in the base. The dry down of this is to die for. I was walking around smelling this absolutely gorgeous sandalwood. I'm a big fan of sandalwood. I really enjoy this one. I'm kind of torn on this fragrance though, because when it comes to musk fragrances, I do like musky fragrances, but if musk is like the main note, I don't usually gravitate towards that scent profile. Usually I prefer something that's very fruity or floral with musk in it, like musk in the base, but a straight up like centric musk fragrance isn't always the type of fragrance that I reach for. So I'm not sure if this is going to be added into my collection or not. I go back and forth on it. I do think it is worth the hype. The musk in here is so smooth. It just blends into the other notes. The sandalwood in here is incredibly smooth as well. The performance on this is really good as well. I smelled this on me all day. It's not super loud. It's a musk fragrance, but I was pleasantly surprised at how much I could smell the wafts coming off of me and how long it lasted throughout the day. It was a pretty good performing fragrance. This one's a maybe. It's pretty pricey. I'm not sure if I would pay the full price for this fragrance because it's just not one that I would reach for that often, but it is beautiful and I kind of do want it in my collection. So if I can find it at a discounted price, I probably will pick up Musk Therapy. All right, speaking of fruity musks, I finally tried after all of these years. I've been hearing so many people talk about this fragrance and I had never smelled it. Like, what am I doing? Seriously, what am I doing with my life? But this is by Xerjoff and this is Erba Pura. People either seem to love or hate this fragrance. People have strong opinions about this fragrance. It seems very polarizing to me. And I just had to find out. Like I said, I usually like fruity and musky fragrances. So I got a sample because my curiosity just completely got the best of me. And I will tell you, this one is a no for me. I'm going to spray it to refresh my memory. I did not give this an all-day wear test because I didn't make it that long. Yeah, I only made it for a couple of hours on this one. I really don't like this one very much at all. For some reason, this one does not smell very smooth to me. Now, I'm a big fan of Xerjoff. I've been discovering a lot of Xerjoff fragrances and really loving the house of Xerjoff, but this one smells like a hot mess to me. I'm sorry if you love this fragrance. Don't take offense. It's just my personal opinion, but this one is a no. The fruit in here is to the point where, to my nose, it smells almost too ripe. It's extremely fruity in the opening, and the fruits do smell just like they're getting ready to be rotten. You know, not quite rotten to not quite to that point, but they're like overly ripe. I don't really enjoy that. And then there's a lot of musk in here, but the musk in here seems really scratchy to me. It is just uncomfortable. When I was wearing this, I actually kind of felt itchy. I know that was like all in my mind. That really wasn't a thing, but the musk just felt so scratchy to me. So one positive thing I will say about the fragrance is that the performance is amazing. This is a beast of a perfume. So if you are into very strong, fruity, musky fragrances, if that's your jam, you might want to get your nose on this one. If you like really strong, loud fragrances, I've heard a lot of people say that they love this. I've heard a lot of people say it's a compliment getter, but for me, it just smelled really overripe fruits and very screechy, kind of scratchy musk. So not for me, not my cup of tea, but I am super glad that I got to try it because my curiosity was just killing me. But now I know that Erba Pura is a no for me. So up next, we have by Xerjoff, we have Tony Iommi. This is an exciting fragrance to me because my husband is a huge fan of Tony Iommi. So if you don't know who Tony Iommi is, he is the guitarist for Black Sabbath. And when I told my husband that there was a fragrance that he was coming out with Xerjoff, plus it's a silver and black bottle, which my husband is a huge Raiders fan, and he also is a big fan of guitars. We have so many guitars in our house. My husband collects guitars and plays guitars. He used to be in a heavy metal band, and he's a huge fan of Black Sabbath and loves Tony Iommi. So I told him there was a fragrance coming out, and I got the sample because I wanted him to try it. Now, I didn't personally expect to like this fragrance because on Fragrantica, it says it leans a little bit more masculine. Like, most people voted it was unisex, leaning more masculine. And I'm not really into masculine leaning scents, although I am changing my mind on that slightly. I'm getting more and more into unisex fragrances. This one I actually really like. I think this is such a good fragrance. It really is. This one kind of blew my mind. When I first sprayed it, I put it on paper, but then I thought, I really like the way that this smells. I'm going to put it on my skin. And I will say it is absolutely phenomenal. It's a phenomenal fragrance. Performance is so good, and this has got to be one of the sexiest fragrances. There's something about this that I just absolutely love. So in the opening you have rum, and I think that's what I'm getting right off the bat. I get this rum note, which I love. I love rum in my fragrances, I'm finding. And then you have passion fruit, bergamot. There's some florals in here, but I don't really pick up florals. I just get this big blast of rum and kind of like a fruitiness, like a fruity touch in the opening. And then there's cinnamon, leather, there's patchouli and rose in here. I do not really pick up a ton of cinnamon. It's kind of there, but I wouldn't say this is an overly cinnamon fragrance. I do really pick up on the leather and the patchouli. So I get rum the most, I get leather, and then I get patchouli. The leather in here is very smooth and very easy to wear. And then you have caramel and vanilla in the base. You have some tonka bean, which kind of sweetens the fragrance up just a little bit. And there's sandalwood, there's labdanum in here. I'm not sure what is causing kind of a smoky vibe in here. There's a slight smokiness to this fragrance that I'm wondering if that's from the labdanum. I'm not sure. There's ambergris and musk in here as well. I put this on my skin, and I was surprised that I liked it more than I thought. Now, the smokiness that's in this fragrance kind of keeps this from being an absolute love, and it keeps this fragrance more on the masculine side for me than I feel comfortable with. So personally for me, I don't see myself reaching for this one a lot, but on my husband, when he sprayed this on him, it smelled so good. He smelled like the sexiest man in the world, and I cannot get enough. So do I think Tony Iommi from Xerjoff is full bottle worthy? Not for me personally. It just leans a little too masculine for my taste, a little too smoky for my taste. But do I think it's full bottle worthy for my husband? You better believe it. I sure do, and I'm gonna get him a bottle. It's not a safe blind buy at all. I do not think that this fragrance is for everyone because you have to like leather, you have to like boozy notes. I definitely get patchouli in here, which is not everybody's favorite either. So not a safe blind buy. Get your nose on it, but I think it is phenomenal. So that is by Xerjoff, Tony Iommi. All right, this next fragrance from Xerjoff, I've heard so many people talk about, and so many people have raved and hyped this fragrance up and said how much they loved it, and I was unsure. I wanted to try it. My curiosity got the best of me, so I ordered a sample, but I was unsure. And honestly, I did not expect to like this because in the main accords, this has aromatic and herbal in it, and that is not my favorite thing. I do not like aromatic notes for the most part. Now, we don't know the notes of this fragrance. This is from the Join the Club collection, and Xerjoff does not release what's actually in this fragrance, so this is all kind of guessing. Did I tell you guys the name of this fragrance? It's Zer Off Ivory Root. I've heard so many people just say how amazing this fragrance is, and I was pretty skeptical, to be honest. Not that I thought that they were lying or anything like that. I mean, obviously the people who love this fragrance, but I was skeptical if I would like this fragrance, if that makes sense. So according to Fragrantica, there is spicy notes, sandalwood, allspice, patchouli, and basil. And it was the basil that I was worried about. But again, these are just guesses on what the notes are because they're not released. When I first sprayed this fragrance on paper, I remember thinking that it was interesting. That was my first thought. It's super interesting fragrance. Like, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I definitely pick up some spices, the kind of spices I like kitchen spices types of things, like baking spices. There's allspice in here, supposedly. And I definitely feel like this is an extremely spicy fragrance without it being too much. I have a limit. Like, I love spicy fragrances, but I have a limit to where it gets to be too much. But then right after you hit that warm spicy comes the fresh spicy. And that I wasn't sure about. And I'm pretty sure that is the basil. Like, it makes sense that there's basil in here because there's a fresh spiciness that comes right along with the warm spicy. And at first I didn't know how to feel about it, but as I started sniffing it and as I put it on my skin and wore the fragrance, I started to realize that I really loved the contrast of the warm spicy and the fresh spicy together. They just seem to like go together in this gorgeous harmony. And smelling it on paper just doesn't do it justice because I wore this, I sprayed it all over, gave myself a full wear test of this fragrance, and it wasn't a love at first sniff, but by the time I got done wearing this fragrance, by the end of the night, I was in love. I still feel the same way. Like, when I first spray this fragrance, it is like, whoa, that's a lot of spicy. That's a lot of warm spicy, that's a lot of fresh spicy all at once, like coming at you. So I have to give this a little bit of time. This is absolutely gorgeous. I truly love this fragrance. Now, there's no tobacco listed on Fragrantica, but I swear to you guys, I get tobacco from this fragrance. I'm pretty sure there's tobacco in here. It's beautiful. So I already ordered a bottle of this because by the end of the night, I was just obsessed. I was in love. I could completely see why people were hyping this up. This is just addicting. It's intoxicating and I cannot get enough of it. Really, really good performance on this one as well. I could smell this on me all day. Oh, and as it dries down, it just gets better and better. So I'm super glad that I finally got to try Ivory Root from Xerjoff. It is definitely full bottle worthy for me. All right, another fragrance that I was super curious about is by AKRO, and this is Awake. This is a fragrance I've heard a lot about as well. People have said that this is the best coffee fragrance if you really truly like coffee-centric scents. It is very realistic to coffee. I mean, it is not playing around with the coffee. It's not one of those fragrances that just has coffee in it. This is mostly coffee. It's actually really, really nice, but I am discovering that I don't want to smell straight up like coffee. Now, to be fair, this has more going on than just coffee, but the coffee is so strong and overpowering in this. I like coffee in my fragrances, I think, but I don't like when the coffee is like such a strong star of the show, if that makes sense. Like, I love Ristretto Intense Cafe, but I feel like there's equal parts coffee and jammy rose in that fragrance, and they both have like equal time in that fragrance. They're both the stars of the show, whereas this is just like a cup of coffee. So this is coffee, cardamom, vetiver, and Italian lemon. It's just not something I enjoyed wearing all that much. I really do think it's a great fragrance. If you love coffee fragrances, if you love coffee centric, the star of the show is coffee, this is definitely going to be a fragrance for you. It has really good performance. Like, this is pretty strong. When I was wearing it, my husband did tell me that I smelled like I had spilled a cup of coffee on me though. He was not a fan. I'd really like this as a candle. But no, this is a no for me. All right, another fragrance that's getting a lot of airtime here on YouTube is by, I think it's THAMEEN, and this is Peregrina. So many people told me I needed to check this fragrance out. So many people told me that I would absolutely love it. And this is an interesting fragrance because this one snuck up on me. When I first tried this fragrance, I thought, yeah, that's nice. It's it's pretty. I like it. It smells like a rose ambery fragrance, but you know, nothing really all that special. So the first thing I did was sprayed it on paper, and that's kind of my first thought to this fragrance. Just, it's a pretty fragrance. And I still kind of feel that way when I spray it on paper, but this thing does something on the skin. It's like magic. This is another one of those fragrances. By the end of the day, I was absolutely over the moon with this fragrance. That's why you have to wear the fragrances. You know what I mean? You have to wear them. You cannot just judge a fragrance based on smelling them in store on a piece of paper or even on the back of your hand. You have to like wear the fragrances. So this fragrance has rose in the opening, and then there's gardenia, jasmine, and lily of the valley. Now mostly what I get out of all of that is rose. I really don't pick up those white florals in here. If you're scared of gardenia, if you hate gardenia, I really don't pick up a lot of gardenia personally. To me, the rose is really the star of the show, and then in the mid you have caramel, vanilla, amber, myrrh, and ylang ylang. And there is a resinous vibe, I think, and it's from the myrrh, kind of like a resinous vibe, but there's something about the caramel in this fragrance as it dries down on the skin. It is like absolute perfection. It does not lean syrupy, sticky, sweet caramel. It's just like the perfect amount. Everything in this fragrance is perfect. It's not too much of anything. There's rose in here, but it's not overly rosy, you know? There's caramel in here, but it's not sticky sweet to where it makes you kind of nauseous. It's just the right amount of sweetness and the right amount of texture, if that makes sense. It's gorgeous. And then in the base you have amber, definitely a very amber fragrance. Rose, amber, caramel fragrance. There's powdery notes in the base as well, and I do pick up on that. There is a bit of this powdery touch. It doesn't get overly powdery on my skin though. Like I said, everything's just in this like perfect amount. The powderiness is there, but not so much that I feel like it smells like baby powder. And then there's this beautiful white musk in here that just smells very smooth, gives it a little bit of a kind of like a clean feel at the same time. It's truly a fantastic fragrance. Like, I just love it. I will absolutely be getting a full bottle of this. Plus the bottles are absolutely gorgeous. These blue bottles just, they're beautiful. So Peregrina is a 100% yes for me. It is very feminine leaning, but I was just shocked at how much I loved it. Plus the performance is outstanding. I could smell this on me all day, and the scent bubble and the scent trail that I had was intoxicating. I was getting these wafts of this ambery, rose, caramel, slightly powdery, slightly musky, slightly resinous vibe of perfume off of me all day, and I was like on cloud nine. I loved it so much. I enjoy this fragrance so much. All right guys, and that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you. I hope you guys had as much fun watching this as I did filming this. I don't know about you guys, but testing out and trying new fragrances is so fun, and I love sharing this experience with you guys. If you like this video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!